It's not your talent that holds you back. It's your attitude. That one line can change everything for you. In real life, it's not always the smartest or most skilled people who succeed. It's the ones who keep going when it gets hard, the ones who stay focused when no one's watching, the ones who show up with the right attitude no matter how they feel. If you've ever felt stuck, lost motivation, or asked yourself, "Why am I not getting ahead?" this video is for you. Because the truth is, skill helps, but it's your attitude that drives your life forward. In this audiobook, you're going to learn how to build a mindset that keeps you going, how to take control of your actions, how to stay consistent, and how to stop quitting early. If you're tired of getting in your own way, this message will speak to you directly. This is what real growth looks like, and it starts now. Chapter 1. Decide to face challenges with strength instead of fear. Attitude is more important than skill, and the very first step in proving this to yourself is to decide to face challenges with strength instead of fear. Everything you want in life will eventually require you to walk into a situation that feels uncertain, uncomfortable, and maybe even intimidating. You will not be able to avoid these moments. They are built into the process of growth. But here's the truth. Fear cannot build your future. Fear only stops you from starting. Strength, on the other hand, gives you the energy to step forward even when you don't have all the answers. That decision strength over fear is where the real change in a person's life begins. When a person looks at a challenge, they usually ask themselves, "Am I good enough? Do I have the skill for this?" But those are the wrong questions. The real question is, will I be strong enough to step into this even if I don't have the perfect skill yet? Because skill is developed over time, but the attitude you carry when you face the unknown decides whether you will ever gain that skill at all. Many people never begin because fear convinces them they're not ready. But readiness isn't what creates results. Starting with strength is what does. Think about it in your own life. Every time you avoided a situation because you felt fear, what happened? Nothing. The opportunity remained untouched, and the fear grew stronger. Now think about the times you faced something with strength. Maybe it was standing up in front of a group when your voice was shaking. Maybe it was trying something new when you didn't know if you would succeed. The results may not have been perfect, but the growth was real, and that growth came not because of skill, but because you carried the right attitude. Fear has a way of making the challenge look bigger than it really is. It tells you stories about what could go wrong. It exaggerates the size of the obstacle until you convince yourself that avoiding it is safer. But strength quiets those voices. Strength doesn't mean you don't feel nervous. Strength means you choose to act despite the nerves. It's a decision that says, "I may not know everything, but I refuse to let fear decide for me." That decision is where confidence begins. It's not about removing fear. It's about refusing to let fear lead. Many people believe they need more skill before they can move forward. They think, "If I only knew more, I'd try. If I were more talented, I'd take the step." But this is the trap. Skills are built through action, not before it. You will never be skilled enough in the beginning. No one ever island. But if you let fear decide, you'll never give yourself the chance to grow. The people you admire, the people who inspire you, are not fearless. They are strong. They decided to face the challenge, and the skill came later. They understood that courage builds doors that fear would have kept shut forever. So, the first move for anyone who wants to live a better life is to practice strength in the small moments. If you can train yourself to stand strong when you feel that pull of fear, you are shaping an attitude that will carry you through far more than any single skill ever could. Strength doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Every day you choose strength over fear, you build a new layer of resilience. You become the kind of person who moves forward instead of holding back. You know this already from your own experiences. Think of the times you acted despite your fear. You probably remember them with pride. Not because you had perfect skill, but because you proved to yourself you were strong enough. That memory stays with you. That is what gives you the energy to keep going when the next challenge appears. Every decision to face life with strength adds to your identity. You become the person who can be trusted to act. You trust yourself more, and when you trust yourself, life begins to open. It's important to recognize how fear works on the mind. Fear thrives on avoidance. The more you avoid, the stronger the fear grows. But when you act with strength, the fear shrinks. It doesn't disappear in a single moment, but it weakens each time you face it. This is why you must decide to step forward, even when you don't feel ready. The readiness will never come by waiting. Readiness is built through strength. And the more often you choose strength, the more your brain learns that you can handle difficult things. That's how you rewire yourself for growth instead of limitation. You must also be aware of how fear disguises itself. Sometimes it doesn't show up as obvious panic. Sometimes it comes in the form of excuses. You tell yourself you're too busy. You tell yourself the timing isn't right. You convince yourself you'll try later when things are easier. But underneath all of these excuses is the same root: fear. Recognize it. Call it out. Because if you don't, it will quietly control your life. Strength is the decision to stop giving fear power over your choices. Strength is standing in front of the challenge and saying, even if I fail, I will not let this moment pass without trying. Now, why is this more important than skill? Because skill without strength means nothing. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if fear stops you from acting, that talent will stay hidden. On the other hand, even a small amount of skill combined with strength will grow into something powerful. Strength gives you the courage to show up, and showing up is where skill is built. Without strength, skill is wasted potential. With strength, even an unpolished skill can grow into greatness. Deciding to face challenges with strength doesn't just change what you do, it changes how you feel about yourself. Confidence comes not from talent, but from evidence. Every time you face fear with strength, you give yourself evidence that you can be trusted. You begin to feel more solid inside. This is how self-respect is built. Self-respect doesn't come from waiting for approval. It comes from proving to yourself that you can act with courage. And the more self-respect you build, the less you need to rely on fear for protection. Remember also that strength is contagious. When you choose to act with strength, the people around you feel it, they see it, they are encouraged by it. Just as fear spreads, so does courage. By showing strength, you create an environment where others feel safer to take their own steps forward. This is how families, teams, and communities grow stronger together. One person deciding to face challenges with strength can influence many lives. Your decision is not just about you, it's about everyone who watches your example. The decision to choose strength instead of fear must become a daily practice. It's not something you do once. Life will keep presenting you with moments that test your attitude. Some will be small, others will be life-changing. Each time, you have a choice: strength or fear. That choice shapes your future more than any skill ever will. Because the truth is, skill without action means nothing. But strength without skill will eventually create skill. So, if you want to change your life, focus less on what you know and more on how you decide to face what scares you. The way forward is simple, but not easy. The next time you feel fear pulling you back, pause for a moment. Feel the fear, recognize it, and then decide strength. Step into the challenge. You may not win right away, you may fall short, but even in falling, you'll learn something, and in learning, you grow. This is how strong attitudes are built. Fear says stay the same. Strength says move forward. Choose strength, and you'll always be moving toward the life you want. The moment you decide to face challenges with strength, your identity begins to shift. You stop being the person who avoids, and you become the person who acts. You stop being the person who waits, and you become the person who builds. And as this shift grows, your skills improve, your opportunities expand, and your future opens. Strength unlocks doors that fear would keep closed forever. The choice is yours in every challenge. Decide to face them with strength, and your life will never look the same. Chapter 2. Train your mind to stay steady under pressure. Training your mind to stay steady under pressure is one of the most important choices you can make if you want to create a meaningful life. Everyone encounters moments that feel overwhelming. Pressure comes when the expectations are high, when the circumstances are tough, or when the outcome feels uncertain. In these moments, most people lose balance. They panic, they make rushed decisions, or they give up altogether. What separates those who succeed from those who struggle is not just skill, but the ability to keep the mind calm and directed when everything around them feels unstable. A steady mind under pressure is like an anchor. It keeps you grounded while the storm passes. If you want to grow into a stronger version of yourself, you must learn how to develop this inner steadiness. The first step to staying steady under pressure is understanding what pressure really, island pressure, is not the situation itself. It is the way your mind interprets the situation. Two people can face the same problem, but one collapses while the other remains calm. The difference is the inner training of the mind. If your thoughts run wild, you will exaggerate the danger and weaken your confidence. But if your mind is disciplined, you will see the challenge clearly and deal with it without being consumed by panic. This is why training your mind matters more than anything else. Without training, the mind reacts impulsively. With training, the mind responds wisely. Training your mind begins with awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. Pay attention to how your thoughts behave when pressure builds. Do you imagine the worst outcomes? Do you doubt yourself? Do you rush into decisions? Observing your natural response is the first step toward changing it. Once you recognize the patterns, you can start teaching your mind new habits. The goal is to build a mind that holds steady even when the body feels stress and the environment demands quick action. That steadiness does not appear by accident. It is built through practice. One powerful way to train steadiness is through deliberate exposure to small pressures. Many people wait until life throws them into extreme situations to test themselves, but by then the habit is not built. Instead, challenge yourself in controlled environments. Speak up in a meeting even if you feel nervous. Push through a difficult workout when your body wants to stop. Practice staying calm in heavy traffic rather than complaining. Each small test strengthens your mind. These daily practices build resilience, and resilience is the foundation of steadiness. The more often you face small pressures calmly, the more prepared you are for bigger ones. Another important factor in mental steadiness is controlling your inner dialogue. The words you say to yourself shape the way you handle stress. If you tell yourself, "I can't handle this," your body reacts with tension, your breathing quickens, and your decision-making weakens. But if you tell yourself, "I can handle this step by step," your body relaxes and your focus sharpens. Language directs the mind. Training your mind means training your self-talk. You must feed yourself words that bring clarity, not confusion. Under pressure, simplicity and self-belief matter more than complex strategies. The right words in your head can be the difference between collapsing and staying strong. A steady mind under pressure also requires control of focus. Pressure tempts you to focus on everything at once. the possible failures, the opinions of others, the size of the task. This wide focus creates overwhelm. The way to stay steady is to narrow your attention to what you can control in the moment. Ask yourself, what is the next best action I can take right now? When you bring your attention to one step, the pressure loses its power. You train your mind not to drown in the weight of the whole problem, but to concentrate on the piece you can influence. Mastering this shift of focus is one of the most practical skills you can develop. Breathing is another powerful tool for steadiness. When you are under pressure, your body sends signals of panic. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten, and your breath becomes shallow. If you do not control this, your mind becomes clouded. Training yourself to breathe slowly and deeply resets your nervous system. It signals to the brain that you are safe, and this allows your thinking to clear. Something as simple as pausing for 3 slow breaths can make the difference between a reckless reaction and a thoughtful response. Many people underestimate the connection between breath and mental clarity, but it is one of the most direct ways to steady yourself in real time. Steadiness under pressure also comes from preparation. If you always wait until the challenge appears to figure out how to respond, you will be caught off guard. But if you build strong habits daily, pressure becomes easier to handle. Waking up early, keeping promises to yourself, finishing tasks even when you don't feel like it, all of these practices strengthen discipline, and discipline is what your mind falls back on when pressure arrives. A person who trains discipline daily has a foundation to rely on. A person without discipline collapses easily because there is nothing solid inside to hold them up. Another key is separating emotion from decision. Pressure often brings strong feelings: fear, anger, frustration. These emotions are natural, but if they control your decisions, the results are usually poor. Training your mind means learning to pause between feeling and action. You can acknowledge the emotion without letting it rule you. Say to yourself, "I feel nervous, but I will still move forward," or "I feel angry, but I will not respond with anger." This pause is where maturity grows. The ability to separate emotion from action is what makes leaders steady while others fall apart. It does not mean you ignore your feelings. It means you choose not to let them decide your future. Staying steady under pressure also requires you to build trust in yourself. Confidence is not about knowing everything will go perfectly. Confidence is about trusting yourself to handle whatever comes. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you increase that trust. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you strengthen that trust. Under pressure, that trust is what keeps you calm. You don't panic because you know you will figure it out. Trust is built through repeated action, and it becomes the foundation of steadiness when life turns difficult. You also need to manage the influence of the people around you. Pressure can increase when you surround yourself with voices that create panic. If the people around you are always fearful, doubtful, or negative, your own steadiness weakens. Train your mind by choosing influences that encourage composure and strength. Surround yourself with people who stay calm under stress, who focus on solutions, who refuse to let panic spread. The energy of the environment affects your own mind more than you realize. Protect your mind by protecting your circle. There is also great value in reflecting on past victories. When you are under pressure, your mind tends to focus only on what could go wrong, but you can train it to remember what you have already overcome. Think of moments when you faced difficulty and still came through. These memories remind your brain that you are capable. They give you evidence that you can trust yourself. Every person has a history of resilience. Use it. Recall it. Strengthen your steadiness by remembering you have survived pressure before and you can survive it again. Another layer of training is patience. Pressure often feels urgent, and urgency pushes people to act before they are ready. But steadiness requires patience. You must be able to wait long enough to see the situation clearly. Impulsive moves create bigger problems. A steady mind says, "I will not be rushed into panic. I will move with clarity." Training patience comes from daily practice. Wait before reacting. Give yourself time before responding to difficult conversations. This simple discipline trains your mind to resist the pull of urgency, and in high-pressure situations, it can save you from costly mistakes. At the deepest level, steadiness under pressure is about identity. You must decide the kind of person you are. Are you someone who breaks when life becomes heavy, or are you someone who stands firm? This identity shapes your response before the challenge even arrives. When you see yourself as strong, your actions follow. When you believe you are weak, your actions collapse. Training your mind is about creating an identity that matches the person you want to be. You must repeat to yourself, "I am steady, I am capable, I do not collapse." Over time, this identity becomes natural, and your actions begin to match it. Finally, understand that pressure will never disappear from life. You cannot live a life free of it. Pressure is a constant companion in growth, but this is not something to fear. This is something to embrace. Every time pressure shows up, you are given a chance to strengthen your mind. Every difficult moment is another opportunity to practice steadiness. If you see pressure as training rather than punishment, your attitude changes. Instead of resisting it, you welcome it. And in welcoming it, you grow stronger with every test. The truth is simple. Pressure is unavoidable, but panic is optional. You cannot always control the situations life gives you, but you can always control how you meet them. A steady mind under pressure is not a gift. It is a skill built through practice, discipline, focus, and self-trust. Train your mind daily, and when the big challenges arrive, you will not fall apart. You will stand firm, act wisely, and continue moving forward. That steadiness will do more for your future than any single talent ever could, because skill without composure falls apart under pressure, but a steady mind can always find a way.
Chapter 3. Build respect by showing consistency in tough situations. Respect is not given to you simply because you want it, and it is not earned through words alone. People pay attention to how you behave when life becomes uncomfortable, when the pressure is heavy, and when the circumstances test your patience. Anyone can look strong when things are easy, but the true measure of character is revealed in the moments of struggle. If you want to build genuine respect, you must prove that you can stay consistent when life places obstacles in your path. Consistency in tough situations tells the world that you can be trusted, and trust is the foundation of respect. Every person you meet is silently watching your actions. They listen less to your promises and more to your habits. When you continue to show up and deliver even when things are difficult, people begin to see you as dependable. They realize that your commitment is not tied to comfort, but to discipline. And discipline in hard times builds a reputation stronger than any talent or charm ever could. Respect is not built in a single moment of success. It is built brick by brick through repeated acts of consistency when excuses would have been easier. Think about the people you respect most in your own life. Chances are it is not because they were perfect or never failed. It is because they stayed steady in moments that would have broken others. They kept their word when it cost them something. They showed up when they didn't feel like it. They kept pushing when everyone else stopped. You respected them not because they claimed to be strong, but because they lived it. That is the same path you must take if you want to earn the same level of respect. Consistency under tough conditions begins with a decision. You must decide ahead of time that you will not let your actions be controlled by your mood. Many people live on feelings, doing the work only when it feels good. But tough situations rarely feel good. They bring fatigue, frustration, and doubt. If you allow emotions to decide, you will quit too early. Respect comes when you act even without the perfect mood. It shows others that you can be trusted to do what is necessary, not just what is easy. Another piece of building respect through consistency is reliability. When you make a promise, follow through. When you commit, deliver. It sounds simple, but under pressure most people look for a way out. They explain why the situation was unfair, why the timing was wrong, why the obstacles were too heavy. But explanations do not build respect. Results do. Even small acts of following through become powerful when repeated. Each time you deliver despite the hardship, you add weight to your reputation. Over time, this reputation becomes unshakable because people know they can count on you regardless of the circumstances. Consistency in tough times also strengthens your identity. When you prove to yourself that you can remain disciplined under pressure, you no longer see yourself as fragile. You see yourself as reliable. You gain self-respect, which is just as important as the respect from others. Self-respect builds confidence. You begin to trust your own word, because you know you will not back down when tested. This inner trust shows up in the way you carry yourself, and people notice. They can feel when a person respects themselves. That self-respect attracts external respect naturally, because people value those who clearly value themselves. Tough situations also test your patience, and patience is a form of consistency. When life does not give you quick rewards, will you still show up? Many people give up not because they cannot handle difficulty, but because they cannot handle waiting. They want instant recognition, instant results, instant praise, but real respect grows slowly. It comes from showing up day after day, even when no one is watching. It comes from holding the same standards on the 100th day as you did on the first. Consistency without immediate payoff is what separates those who gain respect from those who only chase attention. There will be times when your effort seems invisible. You will give your best and no one will notice. You will remain disciplined and no one will say thank you. In these moments, it becomes tempting to quit, to lower your standards, to do only what others can see. But this is the exact moment when respect is either built or destroyed. The world eventually sees patterns. It may not notice every individual act, but over time it recognizes consistency. If you keep your integrity through the unseen seasons, when the results finally arrive, people will look back and realize you never wavered. That is when respect deepens. To build respect, you must also resist shortcuts. Pressure often tempts people to compromise their values for quick relief. They bend rules, break promises, or lower their effort just to escape the weight of the situation. But every shortcut weakens your reputation. It tells others that your standards depend on convenience. Respect grows when you prove that your values remain intact, even under stress. When others see that you will not compromise your integrity, no matter how tough things get, they trust you more, and trust earned in difficulty is the strongest kind. Consistency in tough situations also demands that you manage your energy wisely. Pressure drains both the body and the mind. If you do not care for yourself, you cannot maintain discipline for long. Building respect does not mean destroying yourself. It means balancing effort with rest, persistence with recovery. By learning to take care of your health, your mindset, and your environment, you give yourself the strength to keep showing up. People respect those who endure, but they respect even more those who endure with wisdom. Respect is also tied to example. People believe what they see. If you are consistent in tough situations, your behavior becomes a model. Others draw strength from watching you. They see your calm, your discipline, your persistence, and they mirror it. You become a silent leader. Leadership is not about titles, it is about setting an example that others want to follow. And nothing earns that place of influence more than showing consistency when others fall apart. In that steadiness, you inspire without needing to demand attention. Another way to build respect through consistency is by handling failure with dignity. Tough situations often bring mistakes, losses, and setbacks. Many people lose respect not because they failed, but because of how they responded to failure. They blamed others, denied responsibility, or gave up. Respect grows when you accept failure, learn from it, and keep moving. People admire those who can face defeat without bitterness, who can stand back up without excuses. Every time you do this, your consistency is reinforced. You prove that your commitment is bigger than a single outcome. There is also power in humility during tough situations. Consistency does not mean arrogance. It does not mean pretending to be invincible. True consistency is steady, but it is also humble. It admits difficulty without letting difficulty stop progress. When people see you pushing forward while also acknowledging the weight of the challenge, they respect you more. They see authenticity combined with discipline, and that combination is rare. Respect is built slowly, and it can be lost quickly. In tough times, one rash decision can undo years of effort. This is why consistency is so important. It guards your reputation by creating a track record that cannot be easily questioned. If people have seen you steady for years, one mistake will not erase it. But if your actions are unpredictable, respect never grows deep. Consistency creates trust, and trust creates forgiveness when you falter. Without it, every mistake looks like a confirmation of weakness. Consistency under tough conditions is not just about others watching. It is about the legacy you leave for yourself. At the end of your life, what will matter most is not how easy things were, but how you carried yourself when life was hard. Did you remain faithful to your values? Did you keep going when it was tempting to quit? Did you stay consistent when fear and fatigue pressed against you? These are the questions that build a legacy of respect. The truth is, people want to admire someone who can be relied upon. They are drawn to those who do not collapse in difficulty, and you have the chance to be that person. You have the chance to prove, through daily consistency, that your character is stronger than any temporary challenge. Every tough situation is an invitation to build this reputation. Every struggle is a chance to prove reliability. Every obstacle is an opportunity to add another brick to the wall of respect you are building. When you choose consistency in hard times, you create a foundation that no circumstance can easily shake. Skills may change, opportunities may come and go, but the respect you build through steady action remains. It stays with you. It speaks for you even when you are not in the room. It follows you into new opportunities, new relationships, and new seasons of life. That respect becomes one of your greatest assets. And it all begins with the simple decision to remain consistent when it would have been easier to quit. So the challenge before you is clear. Decide today that you will build respect not by words, but by pattern. Train yourself to show up the same way, whether the conditions are easy or unbearable. Keep your promises even when they cost you comfort. Refuse shortcuts that weaken your integrity. Stand steady when pressure rises. Each act of consistency adds strength to your character, and strength of character will always demand respect. In the end, people may forget many of your achievements, but they will never forget the example of your steadiness in tough times. That is how respect is earned, and that is how it is kept.
Chapter 4. Choose responsibility daily instead of blaming outside factors. Taking responsibility daily instead of blaming outside factors is one of the strongest choices you can make if you want to change the direction of your life. Most people waste years looking for someone to point at when things don't work out. They blame their parents, their boss, the government, the economy, or even luck. But blame has never improved a single life. Blame keeps you weak because it convinces you that your future depends on someone else. Responsibility, on the other hand, pulls the power back into your own hands. The moment you accept that your choices and actions create your results, you gain the ability to make real changes. Responsibility is not about guilt or shame. It is about ownership. It is the daily decision to say, "This is my life, and I will shape it." When you blame, you hand your future over to outside forces. You tell yourself that until those forces change, nothing in your life can improve. But what if they never change? Then your life never moves forward. That is why blaming is so dangerous. It locks you in place. Taking responsibility frees you from that trap. It tells your mind that improvement is possible because you can choose different actions. Every day, in small and big ways, you decide whether you will accept responsibility or give it away. And those daily decisions shape the course of your life more than any circumstance ever will. The psychology of blame is simple but destructive. When you shift responsibility onto others, you feel temporary relief because you no longer carry the weight of failure. But that relief comes with a cost. You also lose control over your ability to create change. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it carries with it the power to transform. The people who grow the most are the ones who stop pointing outward and start asking, "What can I do differently?" That question, repeated daily, becomes the seed of progress. Taking responsibility every day means owning not just your big choices, but the small ones as well. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, all of these are shaped by daily actions. It is easy to say the job is stressful, but responsibility asks whether you are managing your time well. It is easy to say the economy is unfair, but responsibility asks whether you are learning new skills or managing your money wisely. It is easy to say people let you down, but responsibility asks whether you are setting clear standards and communicating better. These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the questions that move you forward. A person who chooses responsibility consistently becomes respected, not because life is perfect for them, but because they do not escape into excuses. They are trusted because others know they will not waste time complaining about factors they cannot control. They focus on what they can do, and they do it. This consistency builds character. It also builds confidence. Every time you accept responsibility, you prove to yourself that you are capable of directing your own path. That self-trust becomes a foundation for bigger risks, bigger growth, and bigger rewards. You cannot control the weather, the market, or the mistakes of other people, but you can control how you respond to them. This is where responsibility becomes powerful. Blame focuses on what is outside. Responsibility focuses on what is within. For example, if you fail at a project, blaming the team or the resources may make you feel better for a moment, but it doesn't improve your ability. Responsibility asks, what could I have done to prepare better? What can I learn to handle this more effectively next time? That reflection creates growth. Without it, the same mistakes repeat. Responsibility is also about consistency. It is not something you choose once in a while. If you only take ownership when life is easy, you will never build the discipline to handle the difficult seasons. Every day provides opportunities to practice. If you are late, own it instead of blaming traffic. If you miss a deadline, own it instead of blaming distraction. If you lose your temper, own it instead of blaming someone else's words. These may feel like small situations, but every act of responsibility strengthens the habit. Over time, this habit becomes part of who you are. Blame is seductive because it protects the ego. It tells you that you are not at fault,
But growth is never born out of protection. It is born out of correction. Responsibility allows you to correct yourself. It forces you to look in the mirror and see where you can be better. That process is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. The people who achieve great things are not those who had perfect conditions, but those who took responsibility for what they could control and kept moving forward. Choosing responsibility daily also influences how others view you. People respect those who admit mistakes and take ownership. They distrust those who always shift blame. When you take responsibility, you send a message of strength. You show that you are not afraid of accountability. This builds credibility in every area of life, whether in business, relationships, or leadership. Respect is earned through responsibility, not excuses. When you accept responsibility, you invite others to trust you with more opportunities, because they know you will face challenges honestly. There is also a freedom that comes with responsibility. While blame ties you down to resentment, responsibility frees you to act. When you stop waiting for others to fix things, you realize you already have the power to begin. You do not need the perfect environment. You do not need everyone else to change first. You can act today. That realization is liberating. Responsibility turns you into the driver of your life instead of a passenger. And once you feel that freedom, blame begins to look like a waste of time. One of the most practical ways to live with responsibility is to adopt daily reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself what you could have done better. Ask where you avoided responsibility and what you can change tomorrow. This habit keeps you honest with yourself. It builds awareness and prevents you from slipping into the habit of excuses. Over time, this daily check builds incredible growth. Responsibility is not about being perfect. It is about being honest with yourself and committed to improvement. Another practice is to set clear standards for your life. Responsibility becomes easier when you know what you stand for. If your standard is honesty, you cannot blame others for your lies. If your standard is discipline, you cannot blame others for your lack of consistency. Clear standards create a boundary that excuses cannot cross. They force you to live by your own values, and in doing so, they protect you from the trap of blaming. Taking responsibility also means understanding that life is not always fair. You will face situations you did not create and circumstances you did not deserve. Responsibility does not mean you are to blame for everything. It means you accept that you must still deal with it. You cannot choose all the conditions of your life, but you can always choose your response. That choice is your responsibility. By owning that choice, you maintain control even in unfair situations. This is the difference between victims and victors. One waits for fairness. The other takes action regardless. In relationships, responsibility is vital. Blame destroys trust, while ownership builds it. When you admit where you went wrong, even in small things, you open the door to growth. People feel safer around someone who takes responsibility because they know they are dealing with honesty. Avoiding blame also reduces conflict. When you stop pointing fingers, solutions appear faster. Responsibility creates stronger bonds, while blame only creates division. In your career, responsibility is what separates average performers from leaders. A leader does not hide behind excuses. They take ownership, not only of their own mistakes, but also of the outcomes of the team. This does not mean accepting blame unfairly, but it does mean carrying accountability. The willingness to carry that weight is what inspires others. Responsibility is what transforms a worker into a leader, because people follow those they can trust to face reality. Blame may feel easier in the moment, but responsibility always wins in the long run. It builds strength, credibility, and growth. Every day you choose responsibility, you sharpen your character. You remind yourself that no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to respond with action. This habit, repeated daily, creates unstoppable momentum. Each time you refuse to blame and choose responsibility instead, you take another step toward becoming the kind of person others respect and trust. The challenge is to practice this, not occasionally, but consistently. Pressure will always tempt you to escape into excuses. But if you remind yourself daily that growth belongs to those who own their choices, you will resist that temptation. With time, responsibility will become part of your identity. You will stop looking for fault and start looking for solutions. You will stop waiting for others to change and start taking action yourself. And this shift will transform not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. The life you want is not built by blaming. It is built by accepting ownership of your choices every single day. The sooner you stop pointing outward and start pointing inward, the sooner your progress will accelerate. Responsibility is not about punishment. It is about empowerment. It is the reminder that you have the ability to shape your future regardless of outside factors. When you live with this mindset daily, nothing can hold you back for long. You will stumble, you will face setbacks, but you will always rise again because you understand the truth. Your life is in your hands.
Chapter 5. Shape your confidence by taking action without delay. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you create, and the fastest way to shape it is by taking action without delay. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect feeling before they start. They believe confidence comes first and action comes after, but it is the other way around. Every time you act, even when you feel unsure, you give yourself proof that you are capable. That proof builds trust in yourself, and that trust becomes confidence. Confidence is nothing more than repeated evidence that you can handle life, and the only way to gather that evidence is to take action now, not later. The problem with delay is that it feeds doubt. The longer you wait, the louder the excuses grow in your head. You begin to imagine all the possible failures, all the things that could go wrong, and eventually the weight of those thoughts paralyzes you. Delay allows fear to expand. Action shrinks it. When you act, you interrupt the cycle of overthinking. You replace worry with movement. Even if the action is small, it reminds your brain that you are in control. This is how confidence is built, through decisive steps taken in the present, not through endless waiting for the future. Every person has experienced the difference between delay and action. Think about a time when you avoided something important. Maybe you put off making a phone call, starting a project, or having a difficult conversation. The more you delayed, the heavier it felt. The task didn't get smaller, it grew larger in your mind. Now think about a time when you acted immediately. You may have felt nervous, but once you started, the pressure dropped. The task became manageable. That shift wasn't because the challenge changed. It was because you changed your relationship with it by acting quickly. That choice gave you confidence, not because everything went perfectly, but because you proved you were stronger than hesitation. Confidence is built by stacking actions. Each time you act without delay, you add another layer to your belief in yourself. Over time, these actions form a foundation that feels unshakable. You stop needing to wait for motivation because your actions themselves create motivation. You stop depending on luck because your actions create opportunity. The consistency of quick action builds momentum, and momentum is the fuel of confidence. People who move quickly grow quickly because each action teaches them something new. People who delay miss these lessons and remain stuck in doubt. The truth is, life does not reward waiting. Opportunities rarely remain open forever. The job you want, the chance you hope for, the moment you dream about, these things require movement. If you wait too long, someone else will take the step you refuse to take. Confidence comes to those who are willing to act before they feel ready. You will never feel completely prepared, and you do not need to. What you need is courage to move. That courage is what sharpens confidence. Every time you step into action without delay, you show yourself that you don't need perfect circumstances to move forward. One of the strongest psychological benefits of immediate action is the elimination of regret. Delay breeds regret because deep down you know you could have acted, but didn't. That self-betrayal eats away at confidence. But when you act quickly,
You protect yourself from regret. Even if the result is not perfect, you can respect yourself for trying, and self-respect is a powerful ingredient of confidence. You begin to view yourself as someone who can be trusted to act, someone who will not back down, someone who takes responsibility for shaping their future. This identity makes you stronger with every step. Confidence is also shaped by the relationship between thoughts and actions. Your mind often creates stories of fear, but action disproves those stories. For example, your mind may say, "I can't handle this meeting," but when you walk in and speak, you realize you can. Your mind may say, "I'll embarrass myself if I try," but when you take the risk, you learn that you survive and grow. Each action proves your fearful thoughts wrong, and with each proof, confidence expands. Without action, those fearful thoughts remain unchallenged, and they continue to dominate your life. Acting without delay is not about recklessness, it is about seizing the moment with clarity. Recklessness ignores preparation, but confidence requires preparation, followed by immediate execution. You can plan, but do not confuse planning with delaying. Planning should lead to swift action, not endless hesitation. The balance is simple. Prepare enough to know your first step, then take it without waiting for everything else to be perfect. This habit of fast execution is what shapes lasting confidence. Another reason action shapes confidence is because it creates results you can measure. Thinking alone does not change your life. Worrying alone does not improve your situation. Only action produces outcomes. Those outcomes give you feedback, and feedback allows you to adjust. Each adjustment makes you better. The more you act, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more confident you become in your ability to adapt. Confidence is not built on knowing everything in advance. It is built on knowing you can handle whatever happens, because you are willing to act and adjust. Delaying action also robs you of valuable time. Confidence grows through repetition, and repetition requires time. If you delay, you shorten the amount of practice you get. A person who starts today has a year of experience when someone else is still waiting for the right moment. Over time, this difference becomes enormous. The person who acted gains skill, confidence, and opportunities, while the one who delayed is left behind. Action compounds, and so does delay. You must decide which side of the compound effect you want to be on. Confidence also thrives on identity. Every time you act without delay, you reinforce the identity of someone who is decisive. You stop seeing yourself as a procrastinator or a hesitant person. Instead, you begin to see yourself as someone who moves forward quickly. That identity is powerful because humans act in line with how they see themselves. When you identify as decisive, your actions follow, and your confidence grows naturally. But if you delay, you reinforce the identity of hesitation, and hesitation drains confidence. Immediate action also trains your nervous system to handle discomfort. Delay usually comes from wanting to avoid the uncomfortable feelings of fear, uncertainty, or doubt. But every time you act quickly, you teach your body that discomfort is survivable. You stop running from the feeling and start moving with it. The more often you face discomfort, the less power it has over you. Confidence is not the absence of discomfort. It is the decision to move despite it. Action is the training ground for this decision. There is another hidden benefit to acting without delay. It builds trust with others. People respect those who act. They know they can depend on them to move forward when decisions must be made. Confidence is not just internal, it is also external. When others trust you to take action, their respect strengthens your own self-belief. They look to you as someone who can be counted on. This creates opportunities and strengthens your influence. Confidence becomes not just something you feel, but something others feel when they are around you. Taking action without delay also helps you break free from perfectionism. Perfectionism is simply another form of fear disguised as high standards. It convinces you that nothing is ever good enough to start. But confidence does not come from waiting for perfection. It comes from starting and improving along the way. Action teaches you that progress matters more than perfection. Each step forward gives you confidence not because it was flawless, but because it moved you closer to your goal. At the heart of shaping confidence through action is a simple truth. Confidence is a choice repeated until it becomes a habit. Each time you choose to act without delay, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. With enough votes, your identity shifts, and your confidence feels natural. It is no longer something you try to create. It becomes who you are. But the only way to cast these votes is through immediate action. Waiting does nothing. Acting does everything. So the challenge is clear. If you want confidence, stop waiting for it. Stop telling yourself you need to feel ready. Stop giving fear more time to grow. Choose action today. Make the call. Start the project. Take the step. Each act builds a stronger you. Each step proves your ability. And as the evidence builds, so does your confidence. This is the path to a life of strength and trust in yourself. Not delay, not excuses, but immediate action. That is how confidence is shaped, and that is how you build a future worth living.
Chapter 6. Direct your thoughts towards solutions instead of problems. Most people spend their days thinking more about their problems than their possibilities, and that habit quietly steals their strength. When the mind focuses only on what is wrong, it creates frustration, fear, and doubt. Energy is drained, motivation disappears, and progress feels impossible. But there is another way to live. You can choose to direct your thoughts towards solutions instead of staying stuck on problems. This shift does not erase difficulties, but it changes the way you respond to them, and in life, your response determines your results. Problems will always exist, but if you train your mind to focus on solutions, you give yourself power instead of weakness. The mind is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used poorly or effectively. When you obsess over problems, you teach your mind to look for what is broken. It becomes a habit to see limitations. Soon everything feels heavier than it really is, and even small challenges appear larger than they should. On the other hand, if you direct your thoughts towards solutions, your mind begins to search for answers automatically. You train yourself to ask, how can this be improved, instead of why is this happening to me? That single shift in thought pattern is the difference between people who remain stuck and people who move forward. When you concentrate on problems, you lock yourself in a cycle of negativity. The more you think about what is wrong, the more powerless you feel. This mindset keeps you repeating the same frustrations, day after day, without progress. But when you train yourself to search for solutions, you break that cycle. You begin to see that no problem is permanent if you are willing to think differently about it. Solutions give hope, and hope fuels action. Once you act, even a small improvement creates momentum. That momentum builds confidence, and confidence helps you tackle bigger challenges. Training your thoughts towards solutions requires awareness. You must catch yourself when your mind slips into complaining or dwelling. Complaints never fix a problem. They may give temporary emotional release, but they leave you in the same position as before. Instead of repeating the same negative thought, stop and ask, what can I do right now to make progress? Even if the step is small, the question itself changes the energy of your mind. It pulls you out of helplessness and places you back in control. This daily practice becomes easier the more you use it, until it becomes your natural way of thinking. Another key part of focusing on solutions is asking better questions. Most people under pressure ask, why is this happening to me? Or who is to blame? These questions only lead to anger or self-pity. Better questions sound like, what can I learn from this? Or what action will improve this situation? Your brain is wired to answer the questions you give it. If you ask unhelpful questions, you will receive unhelpful answers. But if you train yourself to ask constructive questions, your brain will search for practical responses. Over time, this rewires your thinking to stay calm under stress and resourceful when faced with difficulty.
Directing your thoughts towards solutions also requires discipline with your attention. Problems often scream loudly for your focus. They demand energy through worry and fear, but you can choose where to place your attention. If you repeatedly place it on what is possible, your mind becomes sharper in finding opportunities. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means refusing to give them more energy than necessary. Once you identify the problem, immediately shift your attention toward potential action. Ask, what part of this can I control? Where can I begin right now? This focus reduces anxiety and strengthens resilience. It is also important to recognize the emotional impact of focusing on problems versus solutions. When you dwell on problems, stress chemicals flood your body. You feel tense, restless, and exhausted. This makes you less capable of handling the very challenge in front of you. But when you focus on solutions, your body relaxes, your breathing steadies, and your mind clears. Emotionally, you move from frustration to determination. Physically, you feel stronger and more in control. This mind-body connection is powerful, and it all begins with the direction of your thoughts. One way to train solution-focused thinking is to start with small daily situations. If your morning is interrupted by something unexpected, instead of complaining, ask, what can I do right now to keep moving? If a plan falls apart, instead of repeating the frustration in your head, ask, what other approach can I take? Each time you redirect your thoughts, you are practicing mental strength. These small habits prepare you for bigger challenges, because the same skill applies no matter how large the problem is. Another practice is writing your thoughts down. When problems feel overwhelming, they grow larger in your mind than they really are. By writing them out, you create distance. Then, next to each problem, write at least one possible solution. Even if the solution is not perfect, the act of writing it creates clarity. It reminds your mind that there is always a next step. Over time, this exercise teaches you to automatically search for answers instead of drowning in the weight of the problem. Directing your thoughts towards solutions also means surrounding yourself with the right influence. If you are constantly around people who complain and focus on what is wrong, your own mind will mirror that energy. But if you spend time with people who search for answers, who stay calm under pressure, who act instead of complain, their mindset rubs off on you. Your environment shapes your thoughts more than you realize. Choose an environment that feeds solution-oriented thinking, and your mind will grow stronger in the same direction. The truth is that problems never disappear completely. Life is designed to present you with challenges, but that does not mean you must live in frustration. Every problem carries with it a chance to grow, and the only way to grow is to stop staring at the obstacle and start thinking about the path forward. When you make this mental shift, you begin to see challenges as part of the process, not as barriers to your progress. You develop resilience because you know solutions exist, even if they take effort to find. A powerful benefit of solution-oriented thinking is the ability to stay calm in crisis. In difficult moments, people often panic because their minds are locked on the problem. They imagine worst-case scenarios, which amplifies fear and weakens decision-making. But if you train your mind to immediately think, what's the next step? You remain steady. Calm thinking under stress is rare, and it makes you valuable in every area of life. People respect and trust those who can bring clarity when others are overwhelmed. That trust opens opportunities and strengthens your influence. You must also guard against the trap of perfection. Many people refuse to act on solutions because they are searching for the perfect one. This keeps them stuck in thought instead of moving forward. Remember, progress comes from action, not perfect answers. A small solution applied today is often better than a perfect solution delayed for weeks. Train your thoughts to look for what is useful now, not what is flawless later. This mindset keeps you moving, and movement builds confidence. Directing your thoughts towards solutions changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a creator of outcomes. This identity shift transforms not only how you think, but also how you carry yourself. You begin to feel stronger, more capable, and more resilient. Others see it in your posture, in your tone, in your decisions. You become the kind of person people turn to when things go wrong, because they know you will search for answers instead of wasting energy on complaints. The discipline of solution-focused thinking is not built overnight. It is a daily commitment. Every day you will face moments that tempt you to complain, to feel helpless, or to focus only on the difficulty. In those moments, remind yourself that your power lies in your direction of thought. Choose to place that power on solution. Do it once, then again, and again. Over time, it becomes second nature. Problems will no longer intimidate you the way they once did, because you will trust yourself to always find a way forward. At the end of the day, life is shaped not by the number of problems you face, but by the number of solutions you create. Everyone has problems, but not everyone builds the habit of solution-focused thinking. If you want to grow, if you want confidence, if you want respect, train your mind daily to search for answers instead of repeating frustrations. This single shift will give you strength in situations that overwhelm most people. It will make you more resilient, more decisive, and more capable of creating the life you want. The choice is always yours. You can let problems dominate your mind, or you can direct your thoughts towards solution. One path leads to stagnation and self-doubt. The other leads to growth and self-respect. Choose the path of solutions, and you will always find a way forward, no matter how difficult the situation may be.
Chapter 7. Push yourself to stay disciplined when energy feels low. Discipline is easy to talk about when energy is high, when motivation is fresh, and when excitement carries you forward. But the true test of discipline comes when your body feels drained, your mind feels heavy, and every part of you wants to take the easy way out. It is in those low-energy moments that your future is decided. Anyone can act when conditions feel good, but greatness is built by the person who pushes through when energy is low. If you only stay consistent when you feel strong, you will always be controlled by your moods. But if you teach yourself to act regardless of how you feel, you build the kind of discipline that lasts a lifetime. When energy feels low, the temptation to delay or quit becomes louder. Your mind starts whispering excuses, telling you that you've worked hard enough, that tomorrow is a better day, that you deserve to rest before continuing. While rest has its place, most of the time those voices are not about recovery, they are about avoidance. This is the moment where self-control matters most. You have to remind yourself that action is not optional if you want real results. The body may feel tired, but the decision to keep moving belongs to you. Discipline is not about waiting for energy. It is about acting in its absence. Think about how many opportunities are lost because people waited for the right mood. A student who doesn't feel like studying falls behind. A worker who skips effort when tired misses chances for growth. A person who lets fatigue excuse inconsistencies never builds momentum. Life rewards those who show up even when it's uncomfortable. In fact, it is in those very moments of low energy that habits are cemented. If you can train yourself to work through fatigue, you separate yourself from the majority who stop at the first sign of discomfort. That separation becomes your advantage. The truth is, energy is not just physical, it is mental. When you tell yourself you are too tired, your body listens. But when you tell yourself you can still take one more step, your body responds differently. This is why mindset matters. Discipline is less about how you feel in the moment and more about what you decide to believe. If you believe you must feel energetic to act, you will always be limited.
But if you believe that small actions can be taken even with low energy, you will always find a way forward. That belief is what keeps you moving when others stop. One of the most practical strategies for maintaining discipline when energy feels low is breaking tasks into smaller steps. Low energy often makes big goals look impossible, but if you commit to one small step, you reduce the resistance. For example, if you feel too tired to work on a project, commit to 10 minutes. If you feel too drained to exercise, commit to 5 minutes. Often once you begin, momentum carries you further than you expected. The hardest part is starting. When you prove to yourself that you can start even when tired, you strengthen your identity as someone who acts regardless of mood. Discipline in low-energy moments is also built through habit. If you train your body and mind to follow routines, you remove the need for constant motivation. For example, if you always wake up at the same time, your body adjusts, and less energy is required to get moving. If you always begin your work at a set hour, your mind prepares automatically. Routines create stability, and stability reduces the influence of low energy. With strong habits, discipline feels less like a battle and more like a natural part of your day. You must also pay attention to the language you use with yourself. When energy is low, it's easy to say, "I can't do this," but words carry weight. If you constantly tell yourself you can't, you weaken your discipline. Replace that language with, "I will do what I can now." This shift turns the focus from what is missing to what is possible. Even if your energy is not at its highest, you remind yourself that effort is still within your control. That effort compounds over time, and compounded effort is what creates success. There is a psychological strength that comes from pushing through low-energy moments. Each time you act despite fatigue, you give yourself proof that you are stronger than your feelings. This proof builds self-trust. You start to believe in your ability to stay consistent no matter how you feel. That self-trust becomes part of your identity. You stop questioning whether you will follow through, because you know you will. And when you carry that kind of identity, life opens new doors. People trust you more. Opportunities find you because you are seen as reliable. All of that begins with the decision to stay disciplined when energy is low. It's also important to remember that discipline in low-energy moments is not just about big achievements. It's about the small daily choices that build your character. Choosing to complete a task before bed instead of leaving it for tomorrow. Choosing to keep a promise even when it feels inconvenient. Choosing to finish the workout when your body wants to quit early. These small choices may not look dramatic, but together they shape your reputation and your future. The person who does what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel, becomes unstoppable. Sometimes the hardest part of staying disciplined with low energy is fighting the comparison to others. You might see people who seem to work endlessly without struggle and wonder why you feel tired. But discipline is not about matching someone else's pace. It is about keeping your commitment to yourself. Everyone experiences low energy. What matters is what you do with it. Will you use it as an excuse? Or will you use it as a training ground? Every time you choose discipline in these moments, you strengthen your resilience. That resilience becomes the difference between short-term effort and long-term achievement. Low-energy moments also teach you about priority. When you don't have endless strength, you must decide what matters most. This forces you to focus on essentials. It sharpens your ability to cut out distractions and put your energy into what truly counts. In this way, discipline during fatigue not only builds strength, but also creates clarity. You learn to value action over excuses and progress over perfection. That clarity will serve you in every area of your life because it teaches you to see through the noise and act on what matters. A steady truth is that energy will rise and fall, but discipline can remain steady. You cannot always control how you feel, but you can always control how you act. This understanding protects you from being a slave to your emotions. If you can teach yourself that feelings are temporary but discipline is permanent, you will never be held back for long. Tiredness will pass, discomfort will pass, but the results of disciplined action will remain. That is the reward waiting for those who push through. At times you will feel like your effort is invisible. You will stay disciplined when energy is low, and no one will note. But those invisible moments matter most. They are the hidden work that builds character, the unseen hours that strengthen your foundation. One day, when your success becomes visible, people will admire the results. But you will know it was those low-energy moments that created. Respect for yourself grows quietly in those unseen hours, and that respect is one of the most powerful rewards of all. You must also learn to manage your environment when energy is low. Surroundings filled with distraction and negativity make discipline harder. Create spaces that encourage focus. Keep reminders of your goals where you can see them. Use triggers that pull you into action, like music, timers, or a clean workspace. Environment does not control everything, but it influences more than people realize. If you design an environment that supports discipline, you make it easier to push through fatigue. In the end, the ability to stay disciplined when energy feels low is what separates dreamers from doers. Anyone can be disciplined when they feel great, but the world respects the person who shows up even when their body and mind resist. That person proves that commitment is stronger than mood, and determination is stronger than excuses. That is the kind of character that builds success. So when energy is low, remind yourself that this is the moment that matters most. This is the moment where character is shaped. This is the moment where future respect is earned. Do not let tiredness steal your consistency. Take the small step. Complete the task. Honor your word. Every action taken in low energy becomes a powerful statement. I will not be controlled by feelings. I will be guided by discipline. Over time, those statements turn into results, and those results build a life of strength, credibility, and self-respect.
Chapter 8. Strengthen self-control by refusing to quit too early. One of the greatest weaknesses that holds people back is quitting too early. Most people never fail because the goal was impossible. They fail because they walked away before the process had time to work. Self-control is not just about resisting bad habits. It is also about holding on when everything in you wants to stop. The moment you quit too soon, you erase the progress you already made. But when you strengthen self-control by refusing to quit early, you develop the endurance that separates those who only start from those who actually finish. Every dream, every project, every personal transformation requires time. Results are rarely immediate. Growth is always slower than we want. In the beginning, enthusiasm is high, and everything feels exciting. But enthusiasm fades when the effort becomes repetitive, and the reward still feels far away. This is where people break. They assume the lack of quick progress means they are failing. In truth, they are just in the middle of the process. Those who quit early never realize how close they were to a breakthrough. Self-control is the ability to silence that impulse and keep going, even when your emotions beg you to stop. Think about how often people sabotage themselves with impatience. Someone starts a new routine, but after a few weeks they stop because the change is not dramatic. Someone builds a business, but when the early struggles hit, they abandon it before it stabilizes. Someone tries to improve their health, but when results don't show instantly, they go back to old habits. Each of these failures is not about talent, but about timing. They quit before their effort could compound into results. They lacked the self-control to keep going long enough. Self-control is tested most when there is discomfort and uncertainty. The human mind craves comfort. It wants relief from struggle. But comfort never created strength. If you quit every time you feel discomfort, you teach your brain that relief is more important than growth. Over time, this weakens your ability to endure anything difficult. On the other hand, when you refuse to quit early,
You teach your brain that persistence is more valuable than relief. You train yourself to embrace the stretch that comes with growth. That training creates a mindset that is steady, strong, and reliable in every area of life. Refusing to quit early does not mean ignoring rest or wisdom. It does not mean blindly forcing yourself into exhaustion. It means knowing the difference between true limits and temporary discomfort. Quitting early often happens not because the task is impossible, but because the emotions of frustration, boredom, or fatigue convince you that it is pointless. Strengthening self-control means recognizing those emotions for what they are: temporary. Feelings rise and fall, but the decision to continue is permanent. You do not allow temporary emotions to decide the outcome of your long-term goals. One of the best ways to build this kind of self-control is to break promises with excuses instead of breaking promises with yourself. When the thought of quitting appears, ask yourself if the reason is genuine or just an excuse disguised as logic. Most of the time it is an excuse. It is the mind protecting you from temporary struggle. Learn to identify this pattern. Once you see it clearly, you can reject it. You remind yourself, I made a commitment, and I will not walk away just because I am uncomfortable. That decision strengthens your inner control. Every time you refuse to quit early, you gain something more valuable than immediate results. You gain resilience. Resilience is the muscle that grows each time you stay in the fight longer than you thought possible. You prove to yourself that you can survive struggle, that you can endure boredom, that you can push through fatigue. Those victories build self-respect. Self-respect is one of the strongest forces in human psychology. When you respect yourself, you carry yourself differently. You trust your own word. You begin to believe deeply that you can handle whatever comes. That belief creates confidence that no one can give you. It is earned only by refusing to quit. Another reason refusing to quit early is powerful is because most people around you will quit. This means persistence automatically separates you. In any field, the majority start, but only a small fraction endure. That small fraction becomes leaders, experts, and examples. Not because they were always the most talented, but because they were still standing when others left. If you want to stand out, sometimes you don't need to do more. You simply need to keep going longer than the average person. Time rewards those who refuse to stop. Self-control in this area also prepares you for the unpredictability of life. Plans rarely go exactly as designed. Delays happen, obstacles appear, setbacks come. If your instinct is to quit as soon as something doesn't go your way, you will spend your life starting over. But if you learn to hold steady, to stay disciplined, and to keep moving forward through the messy parts, you give yourself the chance to reach the other side. Every worthwhile achievement requires this endurance. The ability to keep going through the middle is more valuable than any skill you pick up along the way. To strengthen self-control, you must also redefine success. Many people think success is a straight line, but it is not. Success is continuing through the parts where nothing looks promising. It is pushing through the days that feel slow, the weeks that feel heavy, the months that test your patience. When you understand that these seasons are normal, you stop seeing them as signals to quit. Instead, you see them as proof that you are on the right track. Everyone who has ever achieved anything meaningful has walked through that same middle ground. The only difference is they refuse to stop walking. One of the simplest but most powerful practices is to set clear rules for yourself. For example, if you decide to commit to something for 6 months, you do not allow yourself to quit before that time is complete. Even if it feels pointless in month 2 or month 3, you honor the commitment. This builds mental toughness. It trains your brain that your word matters more than your feelings. Over time, this habit becomes your strength. You no longer wonder if you will continue. You know you will. That certainty is the heart of self-control. Quitting early is easy in a world that rewards quick results. Everywhere you look, people promise shortcuts, instant success, and overnight change. But those promises are illusions. Real growth takes time. Refusing to quit early means you resist the culture of quick fixes and choose the harder, more rewarding path of consistency. This path is not glamorous at first, but it is the only one that leads to lasting respect. You may not be recognized immediately, but over time people will see that you are different. They will see that you can be counted on to finish what you start. That reputation will carry you further than any shortcut ever could. There is also a deep psychological reward for refusing to quit. When you continue through difficulty, you experience growth you never expected. Struggle forces you to learn new skills, to develop patience, and to sharpen focus. These benefits are invisible in the moment, but invaluable in the long run. Every time you refuse to quit, you are not only moving closer to your goal, you are also becoming a stronger person. That transformation is the true reward. Goals may change, but the character you build remains with you forever. The danger of quitting early is not just losing the goal, it is the message it sends to your mind. Each time you quit prematurely, you tell yourself you cannot be trusted. You weaken your belief in your own ability. Over time, this creates a cycle of self-doubt. You begin to expect failure before you even start, because you know you have a pattern of walking away. Breaking that cycle requires a new commitment. You must decide that you will no longer quit early, that you will see things through long enough to give yourself a real chance. That decision alone begins to rebuild self-trust. The more you practice self-control in this way, the more automatic it becomes. At first, refusing to quit feels like a battle, but over time, it becomes part of your nature. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop arguing about whether you should continue. You simply continue. That automatic persistence is one of the strongest weapons a person can carry. It protects you from the ups and downs of emotion and keeps you moving steadily toward your vision. So when you feel the urge to quit early, remember what is truly at stake. It is not just the project in front of you. It is your identity, your self-respect, your future confidence. Each time you hold on a little longer, you grow stronger. Each time you stay disciplined through difficulty, you become more resilient. And each time you refuse to quit early, you move closer to becoming the person you are capable of being. Strengthen your self-control by making this decision daily. Remind yourself that quitting early is easy, but finishing is rare. Refuse to take the easy exit. Stay long enough to see progress, to learn the lessons, to build the character. That is how respect is earned, how confidence is built, and how lives are transformed. Quitting early may offer quick relief, but refusing to quit builds lasting strength. Choose the path of strength, and you will not only reach your goals, you will become the kind of person who can be trusted to finish what they start.
Chapter 9. Prove your attitude by working hard when unnoticed. The strength of your attitude is not proven when people are watching you. Anyone can act disciplined when the spotlight is on, when recognition is guaranteed, or when applause is waiting at the end. The real measure of your character is how you behave when no one notices. Working hard in silence, without an audience, without reward, and without someone pushing you, that is where your attitude is revealed. A strong attitude is not about showing others what you can do. It is about proving to yourself that you will uphold your standards, even in the shadows. If you only give your best when people are watching, then your best is not real. It is a performance. But when you continue to work hard without recognition, that effort becomes authentic, and authenticity is what shapes lasting respect and long-term success. Most people crave recognition so much that they attach their effort to it. The moment the praise disappears, their motivation collapses. This is a dangerous way to live, because it means your discipline depends on the approval of others. You hand over your future to outside validation, but when you build the habit of working hard when no one notices, you take full ownership of your growth.
You prove that your standards are not negotiable. You don't wait for recognition, you don't depend on validation, and you don't measure your effort by who is clapping. You measure it by your commitment. Working hard when unnoticed is about building integrity. Integrity means your actions match your values, whether or not anyone is watching. If you say you are committed to growth, your effort in private will reflect it. If you say you are serious about success, your habits will show it even when no one is around to hold you accountable. True integrity cannot be faked, because eventually people see patterns, and even if they don't see every private action, they will see the results those actions create. Quiet effort always produces visible outcomes over time. Think about the areas of your life where effort is invisible. Your personal study, your preparation, your discipline in daily routines. These are the places where winners are made. Champions are not created on the stage, they are created in hours of private practice. Leaders are not shaped by one public decision, they are shaped by thousands of private choices to stay consistent. Every minute you give when no one is watching is an investment in your future. Over time, those invisible investments compound, and they show up when the world finally pays attention. One of the greatest signs of maturity is being able to work without constant encouragement. Children need praise to continue. Adults with weak discipline are no different. They stop when encouragement is absent, but a strong attitude allows you to generate effort from within. You don't stop just because no one said thank you. You don't slow down just because nobody noticed your progress. You keep going because you understand the work itself matters. The discipline of working hard in silence builds self-respect. You begin to see yourself as reliable, not because someone else approved, but because you kept your word to yourself. There is something deeply powerful about private victories. Each time you stay disciplined in silence, you strengthen your inner confidence. No one else may see it, but you know you woke up early, you know you finished the task, you know you resisted the easy way out. These victories are stored in your mind, and they form the foundation of unshakable confidence. Public recognition can be taken away, but private confidence cannot. It belongs to you, built by you, and proven in the moments no one else witnessed. Working hard when unnoticed also prepares you for the times when life feels unfair. There will be seasons where you give effort and no recognition comes. If your motivation depends on applause, you will collapse. But if you have trained yourself to work regardless of recognition, you will keep going. This ability to continue without external reward is rare, and it makes you stronger than the majority. It ensures that your growth does not stall just because circumstances are unkind. You remain consistent, and consistency is the force that builds long-term success. Another important truth is that invisible work is always noticed eventually. People may not see the hours, but they will see the results. They will see your knowledge, your strength, your skill, your discipline. These are the visible fruits of invisible labor. So while recognition may be delayed, it is never absent. The world eventually rewards those who quietly kept going when others stopped. The timing of recognition may not be in your control, but the consistency of your effort always is. This principle also builds credibility in leadership. A leader who only works hard when others are looking cannot inspire trust. People can sense when effort is fake, but when a leader has built the habit of working hard in private, that integrity carries over into public life. Others feel it. They know they are dealing with someone who lives by their word. That credibility is priceless. It cannot be manufactured. It must be built in the private hours when no one else is watching. Self-control is at the heart of this practice. Working hard when unnoticed requires you to resist the temptation of laziness and shortcuts. When no one is watching, the easiest thing to do is to relax standards. You convince yourself that it doesn't matter, because nobody will know. But every time you lower your standards in private, you weaken your character, and over time that weakness shows. Refusing to compromise when unseen is what makes you trustworthy. You know the truth about yourself, and that truth cannot be hidden. A strong attitude does not depend on circumstances. It does not say, "I will work hard if I am recognized." It says, "I will work hard because it is the right thing to do." This inner standard is what creates excellence. Excellence is not created by accident. It is created by repeated commitment in both public and private life. You cannot separate the two. Your private discipline will always reveal itself in public result. The world is filled with people who start strong when attention is on them, but only a few continue with the same intensity in silence. Those few rise above the rest because they do not waste energy chasing recognition. They place their energy on action, growth and consistency. Over time, they are the ones who build a reputation that lasts. Recognition fades quickly, but respect built through consistent effort remains. If you want to prove your attitude, stop waiting for someone else to notice. Stop attaching your effort to validation. Begin to see the quiet hours as the true battleground of growth. Do the work even if nobody thanks you. Stay disciplined even if nobody notices. Push yourself in the unseen moments. Those unseen hours will shape your character more than any applause ever could. And when the day comes where people finally notice, they will be amazed at the strength, the discipline, and the excellence you carry. They will call you talented, but you will know it was not talent. It was the unseen work. They will call you lucky, but you will know it was the private discipline. They will call you exceptional, but you will know it was the commitment to keep working hard when unnoticed. The decision is always in your hands. Each day you can either work only for recognition or work for real growth. Recognition may or may not come, but growth is guaranteed if you keep showing up. Choose to value growth more than applause, integrity more than validation, effort more than recognition. That choice will not only prove your attitude, but will also create a life built on real strength and authentic achievement.
Chapter 10. Lead your life with standards that demand real effort. The quality of your life is directly shaped by the standards you choose to live by. Standards are the rules you set for yourself, the lines you refuse to cross, the expectations you demand from your own behavior. Most people live with weak standards. They settle for what is convenient, they accept less than they are capable of, and they justify shortcuts because they are easier in the moment. But if you want to build a life of strength and fulfillment, you must set standards that demand real effort. Weak standards create weak results. High standards create strong results, and the difference is not what the world gives you, but what you are willing to demand of yourself. Living with demanding standards means you no longer tolerate mediocrity in your own actions. You no longer allow excuses to lower your effort. You no longer hide behind the easy path. Instead, you expect more from yourself even when no one else does. You set a level of discipline, honesty, and consistency that requires work every single day. That effort is not punishment, it is the price of growth. The people who achieve meaningful success are not necessarily the most talented. They are the ones who set high standards and refuse to compromise them. When you choose to raise your standards, you begin to see your life differently. Things you once accepted no longer feel acceptable. You stop settling for excuses, for poor habits, for half-hearted effort. You notice when your own behavior falls short, and instead of ignoring it, you correct it. This creates a new identity. You start to see yourself as someone who demands excellence, not in a way that makes you arrogant, but in a way that makes you accountable. You stop waiting for others to push you, because your own standards are enough to keep you moving. The challenge of high standards is that they always require effort. It is easy to live with low standards because they ask for very little, but they also give you very little in return. High standards demand that you show up even when tired. They demand that you finish what you start. They demand that you keep your word, even when it costs you comfort. These demands are not easy, but they shape character. Each time you honor your standards, you build inner strength. Each time you lower them, you weaken yourself.
That is why standards must remain firm, even when effort feels heavy. High standards also protect you from regret. Many people look back at their lives and wish they had pushed harder, aimed higher, or stayed more disciplined. Regret always comes from knowing you accepted less than you could have given, but when you demand effort from yourself daily, you avoid this trap. You may not always succeed in everything, but you will know you gave your best. That knowledge gives peace of mind. It builds self-respect. It allows you to walk forward without the weight of wondering, what if I had tried harder? High standards eliminate that question because you already know you tried. Another benefit of high standards is the respect they earn from others. People watch how you carry yourself. They notice if you cut corners or compromise. They also notice if you maintain integrity and discipline. Respect grows not because you ask for it, but because you live in a way that demands it. When others see that you refuse to lower your standards, they trust you. They believe your word. They want to be associated with you because your example inspires them. This influence cannot be faked. It is earned by years of effort and consistency. Leading your life with demanding standards also gives you clarity. When you know what you expect of yourself, decisions become simpler. You no longer waste time debating whether to follow through, because your standards already decided for you. If your standard is honesty, lying is not an option. If your standard is discipline, skipping work without cause is not an option. If your standard is respect, treating people poorly is not an option. Standards remove confusion. They act as a compass, guiding your behavior in every situation. That clarity saves you from indecision and keeps your life moving in the right direction. It is important to understand that standards are personal. You cannot build your life on what others expect of you. Their expectations may be too low or too inconsistent. You must choose for yourself what you will and will not accept. Once chosen, those standards become your anchor. They define your identity and your future. You will not rise above the level of your standards. If your standards are weak, your results will be weak. If your standards are high, your results will reflect it. You do not get what you want in life. You get what your standards demand. Living with high standards is not about perfection. You will fall short at times, but the difference is that you notice and correct yourself quickly. You do not let a mistake become a pattern. You do not excuse yourself into complacency. You realign with your standards and continue forward. This is how growth happens, not through flawless performance, but through relentless commitment to your rules of life. That commitment creates progress even when perfection is impossible. One of the most difficult parts of high standards is that they often set you apart. Most people will not understand why you push yourself so hard. They will call you extreme, obsessed, or too strict. They will tell you to relax and accept less. But remember, average people protect their comfort, while leaders protect their standards. If you want to live differently, you must be willing to stand apart. High standards are not meant to make you popular. They are meant to make you strong. The true reward of high standards is not just achievement, but identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who cannot be easily shaken. You know that you can be trusted to keep your word, even to yourself. That kind of self-trust is priceless. It gives you the confidence to pursue bigger goals, because you know you will not betray your own commitment. It also creates stability. No matter what life throws at you, your standards remain steady. This steadiness gives you strength in chaos and direction in uncertainty. If you want to test the strength of your standards, pay attention to how you act when no one is watching. Do you still push yourself, or do you let yourself slide? Real standards are proven in private. If your rules only apply in front of others, then they are not real standards. They are performance. The person who holds the same standards in silence and in public is the one who builds real credibility. That credibility cannot be bought. It can only be earned through effort. Another test of standards is how you handle pressure. When stress rises, Weak standards collapse. Strong standards hold firm. If you compromise your rules under pressure, then your rules were never real. True standards demand consistency in both comfort and difficulty. This is why they require effort. They are not flexible to mood or circumstance. They remain the same no matter what. That consistency builds strength in your character and trust in your reputation. Leading your life with demanding standards also influences those around you. People are inspired by consistency. They may not say it, but they notice. Your example pushes them to raise their own standards. Families grow stronger, teams grow more disciplined, and communities grow more resilient when individuals choose high standards. Your private commitment creates a public impact. Without speaking a word, you become an example of what is possible when a person refuses to settle. Over time, high standards shape not just your behavior, but your destiny. The small choices you make daily, guided by your rules, accumulate into large results. A person who cuts corners daily builds a weak future. A person who demands effort daily builds a strong future. The difference is invisible at first, but years later, it becomes impossible to ignore. Standards are like seeds. Weak seeds produce little. Strong seeds, watered daily with effort, produce abundance. Your future is growing right now, shaped by the standards you enforce each day. So the challenge is simple, but demanding. Decide what your standards are, and refuse to lower them. Decide that you will require effort from yourself even when it is uncomfortable. Decide that you will not accept excuses as a substitute for discipline. Decide that you will not live below your potential just because others are comfortable with less. These decisions will feel heavy at first, but they will become your strength. Each day you honor them, you grow stronger. Each time you uphold them, you prove to yourself that you are building a life of integrity, strength, and credibility. The truth is that everyone ends up living by some standards, whether chosen or not. If you do not set them consciously, life will set them for you, and they will usually be low. But if you take control and set them high, you will live a life that demands effort, and that effort will shape you into someone powerful, disciplined, and respected. It will not be the easy path, but it will be the path that gives you peace at the end of each day, knowing you gave your best. That peace is the reward of a life led by demanding standards. Choose today to raise the bar. Lead your life with rules that require more from you than comfort would prefer. Push yourself to act with integrity, discipline, and consistency, even when no one is watching. Demand real effort, not half measures. Over time, these choices will create a life of strength and respect that no circumstance can take away. Your standards define you, and when they are high, your life will always rise to meet them.